As many of you know, I run a series called The Potato Masher, where I take a $375 PC built at the end of 2014 and I compare it against a PS4, and sometimes I compare it against an Xbox One. And the goal is not to pick on consoles, but to show what type of experience you can get with a budget gaming PC. Now, today we're taking a look at Call of Duty World War II's beta. Now, this isn't final release code for the game, so you're going to expect to see a couple bugs, and I'm not doing a full comparison with the console. I'm just checking out how the PC version runs to give you an idea of how the game might work when it comes out. So, the last couple years of Call of Duty games have not been super well optimized on PC when they release. They've had really high spiking CPU usage. It's one thing to have high CPU usage in a multiplayer game, plenty of games do it. But when it spikes a bunch, it can cause the frame rate to dip really badly. And then also recent Call of Duty games have just had poor optimization at launch across the board. Now, I'm happy to say that Call of Duty World War II appears to be a lot better in that respect. As you can see, CPU usage is pretty high. Right now you're watching footage at 1080p, and medium settings are pretty much the default settings of the game, which work out to about medium, although I didn't play a ton with the presets. So it's capable of hitting 60 FPS, but it also drops into the 50s pretty regularly. You can see the CPU usage is really high. So with some tweaking, I think we could probably get a pretty stable 60 that would look pretty good at native 1080p. But one thing that Call of Duty games have had for the past few years on console is really good resolution scaling, where instead of just having a straight resolution scaling that's then checkerboard upscaled or something, where you render the game at 900p and upscale it to 1080p, the Call of Duty games have been blending several low resolution frames at like half horizontal resolution, and they've been doing that and then recreating a full 1080p frame. And while it doesn't look quite as sharp as 1080p, it actually looks surprisingly good, and it looks a lot better than running the game at a lower resolution. Well, the PC versions of the games have not gotten all of those options. They've just had more traditional resolution scaling, and I'm happy to say that this year it looks like we're getting actually the full options on the PC. So you've been watching pure native 1080p, no adjustments, nothing else. But now you're going to be seeing 50% resolution scaling at the same settings. Now, it's not actually 50% resolution scaling. It's the starting resolution that the resolution scaler uses is 50% resolution, then it blends a couple frames and creates one 1080p frame. So it's a little bit softer if you know what you're looking for, but it isn't anywhere close to as soft as you'd expect based on 50% resolution scaling. So like I said, it's not traditional resolution scaling in that way. But here you'll see me playing the game, and yeah, it looks a little bit soft. There's a couple visual artifacts you can tell, but the UI is rendered at native 1080p and everything looks fine. So it's rendering at 960 by 1080, so half horizontal resolution, and then the frames are blended to create a full 1080p image. And you will see one bug here where it looks like the higher resolution textures just aren't loading. I think that's just a bug for the beta, because I didn't notice that on other maps that I also played at 50% resolution scaling. So I think it's just a bug, and since it's a beta, I'm not terribly worried about it unless the final version of the game has the same issue. But you can see that the frame rate is a very solid 60 FPS right now, because when you're playing a game like Call of Duty or any really competitive multiplayer shooter, frame rate consistency can be more important than visual fidelity, which is why on console the Call of Duty games have always prioritized frame rate over anything else, and they've done a good job of it. And I'm actually kind of excited that this year people who play Call of Duty on PC will be able to tinker with their options just enough that they can probably hit really consistent frame rates a little bit easier than they have been able to in the past. So just to recap here, it's better resolution scaling than we've had in the past, and generally better optimization. Now, it's still a pretty demanding game, and I'm not expecting the Masher to play this at like 4K or anything. But I'm more impressed than I have been with the last couple of Call of Duties, and if the final release version of the game runs anything like this, I think with a little bit of tweaking, I'll be able to get some pretty solid results, and I'm kind of looking forward to doing a review. So I still wouldn't pre-order the game. I never recommend doing that. But if you are considering buying the game, but you were thinking you might get it on PC instead of getting it on your console, I would say that might be a good idea. Of course, I'd wait for reviews, wait for my test, see how the final version of the game runs, but this isn't bad at all. So my predictions for the Masher are probably that we'll get a good 1080p results. Now, that's not 1080p native, although I think I can get some decent native 1080p results, but it'll be the scaled 1080p, because given the boost in performance that you get and given how consistent the frame rate gets, I think it's definitely something that's worth doing. Although I want to play around with the settings because I think I can probably get the visuals to look a little bit better, a little bit sharper, and still get this awesome locked 60 FPS performance. So I'm excited about that. But that's all for now, everybody. Thank you for watching. If you're not sure what the Potato Masher is, there'll be links at the end of this video, links in the description, so you can go check out more. And I encourage you to go check out the rest of the series where I've got more in-depth comparisons and reviews. But for everybody else who's curious how Call of Duty World War II's beta ran, there you go. I'll see you for the next video. Have a great day.